Hello, everybody. This is Brian, Mr. Betcher, Ms. Berlin from Breaking Down Security.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, y'all? So, Ms. Berlin, you went to Bsides Nashville this week.
I did. We ran our mental health village there, and it went really well.
Very cool.
Some awesome people, and yeah, it was the 500th Bsides event.
That's crazy.
So it was pretty neat.
Wow.
And It's one of my favorite Bsides too. They have amazing food, and the speakers are pretty good. They had Marcus Carey give the keynote.
Oh yeah. God, he did the Tribe of Hackers book, so that was Okay.
Yeah. So he actually talked about he did like the DNA result, like 23andMe,
right?
And like ideas and security around that, and it was pretty interesting.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yeah. It's probably going to have to be, next year when I go and visit that one. I'm trying to find one to replace my my DerbyCon. So we're hitting the last one for that one this year. So,
yep.
There's, it'll be interesting to see what takes its place if there's anything. So, Mr. Betcher, how's things been with you? Are you finding any interesting malwares?
I think we'll have another one on breaking down IR.
Oh yeah.
So, to go back to the 23andMe, they'll never get my DNA.
Oh yeah.
Of course, they probably have both of my parents, so it doesn't even matter.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Or you've got relatives that have done it, because my wife was poking around on Ancestry.com, and people love sharing them some information. I'll tell you what.
You know what's really interesting is one of the stats he gave. He said it's like 3%, I think, of people that do it find out like their dad really isn't their dad.
Ouch. Yeah, that makes for an uncomfortable dinner conversation.
Right. And I guess there's a subreddit about like terrible stories that people have found out about their relatives or non-relatives now.
Oh my hell. Yeah.
And yeah.
Ouch.
Yep.
Yeah, that opens up a lot of questions. Yeah, like the Native American thing. My mother always told me that I was, at least some part of the First Nations or the Native Americans, Cherokee in this case, and then I get my genetic test back, and yeah, I'm as white as driven snow, Northwest, England and Europe and whatever, and not a smidge of Cherokee or Native American in me at all. So that made
it's funny. Marcus mentioned too during his keynote that he's 22% Irish.
Really, that's nice. Well,
that's a lot.
It is a lot. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So our guest this week is waiting very patiently. And I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. He's not really a guest. He's been here before, so as I like to say, you're family. So, you have to just you're not a guest, you're family. So
I'm allowed to get my own drinks now.
Right. Go get you can have whatever you want out of the refrigerator. It's fine. So last time we had him on, I think was probably a year and a half ago or better. We were discussing something with I forget his name. He was anyway. It's Kevin Johnson from Security Ideas. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me in. Now that I'm family, I'm just going to show up every week.
Yeah, there you go. Please do. Please do. I know we all need help understanding web application security. So for those of you who haven't listened to the other 200 and some odd episodes, Kevin was one of Mr. Betcher and ours' first interviews on the show way back in 2014. Matter of fact, we started the podcast because we knew I'll fix that in post. The thing he was teaching at was going on, and
what's wrong with saying it was a SANS event?
Okay, it was a SANS event. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Okay, so
Brian practices OPSEC sometimes.
I SANS.
I don't. Do you want my social?
Easy, LifeLock.
You want Brian's? Because I'll get.
I already have it.
Yeah, you don't need mine. Yeah. Actually, funny. I'll tell you a story after this when the show's over. So yeah, he was we started the podcast with the idea that we were going to get Mr. Johnson on the show. So he was our first interview, and yeah, so great to have you back on, sir.
I forgot that I was the first interview that
Yep.
what you did was you set the bar low so you could always exceed.
No, we jumped right out of the plane from the start. I mean, it was
So I'm still weirded out by Mr. Johnson.
Sorry, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah, he calls me Ms. Berlin, and I've just gotten used to it.
Well, the problem is I haven't always been Mr. Johnson, right?
Right.
So I know I'm 46 now. Yes, a few weeks.
Really?
But I'm not sure I'm used to that. So we'll just go with it.
So you're the Emperor Palpatine over at Secure Ideas. You run the joint a little bit.
I do run it, but I'm not the Emperor. Doug has an Emperor's costume.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm Vader.
Oh, well, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. So if you walk into the office, we have mannequins all over the place with costumes that we've built. Sitting on them, and the Emperor costume is not mine.
Oh, nice.
But I'm one of the founders and one of the 3 owners of Secure Ideas.
Oh, very cool. All right. So, little background of why we're having Mr. Johnson, Kevin, on the show is April 1st, 2019, which is usually a day that I hate intensely because it's all fake news on the internet and people are trying to be cutesy with things and whatever. It's also my wedding day anniversary, which puts me in conflict with the wife because then I say things like, I hate April 1st. And she's like, oh, really? And so, it's a little awkward.
Did nobody show up to your wedding because they thought it was a joke?
No. We only had myself, my wife, and 2 witnesses, and we got married at the Justice of the Peace. And then we pranked everybody on the way up to our honeymoon in Long Beach at the Queen Mary, telling people we got married. And they're like, oh, yeah, whatever, April Fools. And we're like, no, boom, right there. Go ahead, sir. Oh, okay.
I wasn't saying anything. My wife was walking in to say something.
Oh, yeah. We're recording this on April 14th, so this is going to go out a week later. But yeah, everybody's got a breathing a big pause because Game of Thrones season 8 starts. So anyway, so April 1st, I'm checking my feed just to see if there's anything legit there, and I see this thing called "We Take Security Seriously" and other trite statements, and I'm like, oh. Well, that's something I don't...
To be clear, it was not a joke.
Right. This was not a joke. Yes. So, I'm reading through this and it's in my Feedly and it says earlier this week, Secure Ideas sent an initial notification regarding incident targeting us that took place at a vendor. And there's a link and then I went to click on it and I'm like, oh, okay. So immediately I started reading this and I was like, oh, that could be something interesting because I loved the transparency that was involved, and we have a link in the show notes if you want to read the whole thing, and including the notification. But I was reading down through the timeline, and I was like, oh, well, we don't see a lot of transparency like this when we're seeing this in companies. And I was like, we should have Kevin on to discuss the incident, what constituted the idea that it was an incident, and other things like that. So, Kevin, maybe you give us a little backstory as to what happened.
Yeah, no problem. I also hate April 1st. And it's made worse lately because it's the only day we critically think about things on the internet, which bothers me as a common user of social media. But
good point.
So, we Secure Ideas, just to give you a little bit of background, we're in our 9th year, which blows my mind. This was an accident that has successfully fallen uphill, and we're really not sure how, but it does, right? And one of our core things, one of the things we believe is very important, and we've talked about it before, right? We believe in offering training. I'm a firm believer that I'm standing on the shoulder of giants, and it is my responsibility to be the set of shoulders for the next group. To that end, we have for a long time offered short form classes, long form classes. We've recorded some of them. We've put them online. We've used a variety of LMSs, learning management systems. Last year, we got really frustrated with the LMS we were using. Mainly, they were advertising other courses in our white boxed system, which is not a big deal. Like I've talked to you about, I'm cool with advertising other people doing good stuff, everything else like that. The problem was because it was a white box system, we were getting complaints. I guess one of the courses they were advertising, the person did not speak very well, was not very clear, whatever. And so we started getting complaints about how horrible the accent of one of our instructors was. And that confused us. We looked into it. We moved LMSs, and we actually looked around a lot for a good learning management system. And I tell you all this because I think part of it's funny because we actually went down the path of setting up our own, mainly because of the concern of being in a multi-tenant system. We are a security company, and as such, I think we're one of the few companies, one of the few types of companies that reputation is actually important, right? We always hear about reputational harm, and I think in most cases it's BS. Target's still in business. Equifax still has our data. Marriott, I stayed at just a few days ago. Right,
Right.
So we talked about running our own system. We decided that it would be better not to, for a variety of reasons. And if anybody's interested, they can talk to me later and we can go through the checklist. But we went with a vendor, and we've told them we're going to be very open. You can figure out who they are. But they're Academy of Mine, MINE, and they're awesome. They worked with us to set up the system. We were in a multi-tenant system. It is white boxed, so it's training.securideas.com. And one of the things we liked about them was their flat rate. And we give away a lot of training. As you know, and if you don't mind, I'm going to say it again here. If you're a veteran, active duty military, or first responder, write us. Most of our training is free for you. And if it's not free, it's hugely discounted, right? And that's important from a perspective of, that means I can't go to a system that charges me per user, because then I'm losing money. And while we can make that up in volume, right? So we went with this system, we set it up, and I want to say that it was first or second week in January, we announced the move. Okay, we're done. We're on the new system. Everything's good. We're live. And we ran with it for a while. We found out, and I'm horrible at dates, and I know I want to say that it was the Friday,
March 22nd.
Yep, thank you. That's in the blog, isn't it?
In the incident notification.
So, I went into the system to do some work. We had, it's funny, we had done a 3-day class that we did live, and we had this young lady come in. She was amazing. She was awesome, so smart. She's a high school senior. Her instructor asked us if we would allow her into the classroom. She just did this great job. And so we invited her to come to the office. Just, it was the last day of spring break. She could hang out in the office, see what we do. We could show her some more stuff. And one of the things we were doing was giving her access to training further, right?
Right.
Like I said, we try to help everybody. And I went in to give her access and realized that there were 3 administrator accounts in the system. Now, this may not be clear to everybody. Because it's a multi-tenant system, I am not an administrator in the system, right? So we have what's called client administrator, right? That multi-tenant, one level below. And there is an administrator, and it is AoM's account to support us. Now there were 3.
Yeah,
I went in and I
good.
looked. I will tell you, my heart dropped. I was angry. I'm not sure angry covers how angry I am about this whole thing. And we found the 2 people who had done this. Now, we've done some looking and everything else like that. And I told you guys beforehand, I'm not going to name the 2. Am I allowed to say jackasses?
Jackasses, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Definitely
Okay,
jackasses.
Yeah. I'd like to say more.
But they were students of your system, right?
So it's hard to say that. And the reason I say that is one of them absolutely was a student. He had communicated with us. He talked to us about the course. The other guy, the guy that had done it first, I want to say there was 2 days between the two breaches, the two escalations, whatever you want to call them. He is a public security researcher, and I hope you heard the italics and quotes and hatred to that title. He is one of these people that believes that running scripts against a site and finding vulnerabilities makes you cool. He brags quite often online about the latest research he's done. I personally don't believe running Nessus is research. But and I know that I've had rants, I've had phone calls from friends who refer to themselves as security researcher. I want to be very clear. I believe that there is such a thing as a legitimate security researcher, right? But I will also tell you that the Chris Roberts of the world and people like that who just think it's fun to play on things and then claim security research, you're just scum. And I think I've made that opinion clear for years. This guy is one of those people. I named it one. It was not the one I just named.
Right.
He, on about a monthly basis, scans all of our domains. He somehow has this idea that SecurityIs is the company he's going to find a vulnerability in. And it's going to be awesome, and he's going to be famous and proud and a jackass. And so what we think happened is there is a vulnerability, and we do believe it's the one that you listed here, in your notes.
Right.
We do believe it's the one that was announced last year. Our vendor runs a very, very customized version of WordPress and Woocommerce, and has built an LMS around this. Because it's so customized, they are not at the latest patch level type of thing. You know how that works?
Not surprised, yeah.
And I want to be very clear, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with this stance. I'm repeating, right?
Right.
So we believe that the security researcher ran a script because in this case, I believe security researcher is a synonym for script kiddie. They ran
shots fired.
They ran the script, and we believe from what we're looking at in the logs, they were able to escalate. Well, we know they were able to escalate their privileges. They got access to the administrator role, and then never did anything else in the system. We can't prove negatives, right? We all know this. I can't guarantee they never went further, but up to this point, they were very, very unsubtle, I think is the polite way to put it. In looking at the script we think they ran, it looks for a specific response back from the system. The customized version that AoM runs does not return the same response. So we believe that the script told them it wasn't successful when it was. And because they are such high quality security researchers, they believed the output from their script.
Okay, so that kind of answers one question, because I was like, why didn't they notify you at least that they were able to do that? But if they didn't see a 200 that this actually was successful, then maybe they didn't even know that they were doing it. So that's cool. All right. So
and to be clear, we don't know that that's true. That is our understanding from what we're looking at and what we're seeing.
Wasn't there evidence of a scanner being run prior to that? You said they ran a script, like looking for multiple vulnerabilities.
So we saw from the logs working with AoM, they were able to see, because we did not have access to those logs.
Right.
We've remedied that. And let's be clear, this has definitely made them sit down and go, damn, we should probably work with these guys. Which is good.
Answers my question at the bottom.
But they saw signs that people were scanning for WordPress. The two people who did this were scanning for signs that WooCommerce was in use. So they see that, right? And it's very, very, very script kiddie-ish, right? I run a scanner, I find a target, I go after it. Now, in the case of the first guy, he, like I said, he scans us and tries to get into our system on a regular basis. As a matter of fact, he's the reason we added the reCAPTCHA to our contact forms, because we were tired of seeing the Nessus results from his IP address being emailed to us, right? It's cruddy. So they elevated their privileges. By elevating their privileges, what we can tell, they would have had access to email addresses, phone numbers, if you entered your phone number, if you entered your address. As far as we can't tell, they had zero access to any type of credit card data. And the reason I feel very confident in saying that is that we use Stripe, so we never even see the credit card data.
Right.
If they had been able to, and they absolutely had the capability to do it, they had an administrative role. We have found no signs that they did. If they had been able to insert client-side code into the pages, theoretically, they could have had access to credit cards. Mm-hmm. Not a single page was changed. We went through, and we went through a lot. and this is actually one of the biggest complaints I have, that so many people who think that it's okay. We've actually had people about this particular incident say to me how ridiculous I am for overreacting because they didn't hurt anybody. And it's like, do you realize that we stopped all work that day? Every one of our consultants was involved in trying to figure out what happened. Every single one of our staff was involved with figuring out. We are still continuing to take time and effort to go and I'm not even talking about things like this where I'm answering questions. I'm talking, we are actively doing stuff to try to figure out what happened. There's a huge cost for some jackass who thinks it's funny. You know what I mean? Like that's what most people overlook. Yeah. And the argument, well, they helped me. No, they didn't help me. They didn't even notify me there was a problem, right? So that just my rant. So they elevated their privileges. They had access to data. We don't believe they accessed anything. Like I said, we looked at logs. We also don't believe that we have any legal requirement to notify people. There is some confusion there because we don't have a federal breach notification law, and all of the state's laws are so drastically different that I'm not speaking as a lawyer when I say we didn't have a legal requirement, because somebody can go, well, Kevin, in Kalamazoo, you have to do that. I don't know, right? Yep. But we felt strongly enough about not being hypocritical assholes. We get mad when people say, oh, I take your security very seriously, and here's a year of free credit monitoring.
Right.
The fact that we got a year of free credit monitoring from Equifax seems self-serving to me. Just me. Yeah. That's why. So we did. So we found it on a Friday. We waited until Monday to do the initial notification. We had enough information on Friday to do the notification. The reason we waited until Monday was we were still gathering data. We were still gathering information, but it wasn't because of that. I'm not going to lie and say, we were making sure we had all the details. The reason we didn't notify on Friday is we did not want to be it's Friday afternoon, let me talk about breach and hope you don't remember it on Monday. Right. So we, Jason, Denise and I, Jason's and my wife, Denise, are the other two owners. We discussed it. We decided that while we would prefer to notify as soon as possible, there was also the aspect of we felt that a lot of the people we were notifying wouldn't notice it because it was a Friday. Right. So we waited until Monday morning. We did the initial notification. We continued to gather data, work with AoM. Like I said, they have been awesome. I would like every vendor to be as open. When we opened the ticket to them, the initial response to the ticket sucked, but we have found that the initial response to every ticket sucks. And not no matter what.
No matter what service you use.
Exactly. I was just about to say, I was not targeting AoM there. And I don't know of any service where the first person, I would just like them to not answer the first time. Like just, right. Don't answer the first thing. Think of your second response. That's the good, and it's not a level 1 support guy thing, because I've had really good support from level 1 people. I don't know what it is about the first response to a ticket, but it blows.
Right.
We've been working with them really good, and then the next Monday, and again we waited for a Monday, and then we realized on the Monday that it was April 1st. we actually thought about waiting until the next day, and we decided no, that we would already waited enough and we wanted to do the second notification.
Cool.
And so I think that is absolutely it in a nutshell, right? I feel like I've babbled a little bit more than I should, but
that's all right. That's all right. No, so I was looking through the timeline. Some of the questions came up as like 9:03 Eastern time. Kevin assigns members of Secure Ideas with reconnaissance and mapping of the AoM system, not your own system. Kevin reminds these members
install of the AoM system.
Okay, so you said Kevin reminds these members Secure Ideas doesn't have permission to test AoM. They're advised not to do anything that would harm the production environment. So maybe you could discuss a little bit what reconnaissance and mapping are and why they're different, and what is the line that they necessarily should not have crossed? Would it have been like the script kiddie running the script, or single quote in the text box? What are we looking at?
Yeah. So in our opinion, putting a single quote in the text box is crossing a line. And I know that that's not a popular opinion, and I'm not going to be a liar and tell you I've never done it, right? Because it would be a lie. Right. It would be a bald-faced lie. Right. And I shaved this morning, so bald face is right. But so reconnaissance and mapping, very simple, right? We follow, the industry has adopted, I believe it's fair to say, a 4-step methodology on application security. It's reconnaissance, which I can't spell, mapping, discovery, and exploitation. Reconnaissance is looking out on the internet for things that are leaked about the target, right? Maybe posts, maybe things people are talking about. In this case, we were looking for active chatter about AoM problems. While one of the people we found, we knew had been targeting us, and targeting us sounds so drastic, right? But, I'm not saying he singled us out.
But he was actively interested.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. I think that's a great way to put it. Yep. We felt that this was definitely limited to us. Of course, we were working with AoM for them to figure out if any of their other customers had been impacted. But we were looking to see, somebody bragging on Pastebin or whatever about, I got into Secure Ideas, whatever. We were also looking for things about chatter, about vulnerabilities. We went and looked back up at we were aware of the Woocommerce flaw from, I think it was November of last year.
Yep.
Excuse me. The part that really bothered us, and nobody really talks about it a lot when they ask me questions, and I appreciate that, but I also feel it's necessary to say it. It does bother us that they got in toward the end of January, and it wasn't until the end of March that we noticed. That really bothers me. We're better than that. And I do believe this was I'm not blaming it on being a third-party vendor, but because we don't administer the system, we don't have access to logs, things like that. Right. I still feel like I should have discovered this sooner.
Well, there should have been some kind of notification you would have thought in the system. Hey, thank you for subscribing a new admin to your account or whatever.
There are notifications for that for every other role.
But we
don't have access to this role, so we don't. And I'm sure there are notifications to that role, but we don't have access to that, right? So I can't even go in and I can see that there is an administrator, but I can't see, other than their name, I can't see details about them because it's a role above what a multi-tenant tenant would have. Right. So I can't say there aren't notifications of that, but we don't have them. We are working on that. That is.
How did the conversation go when you asked for those extra logs? Like, I'm assuming you weren't getting any logs at all from that third-party vendor, right? And I know, based on previous experience, lots of third-party vendors don't want to give you any logs. They'll just be like, trust us. We have alerting enabled. We'll let you know when something goes wrong.
Normally it's trust us. We have SSL.
Yeah.
So by the time we got to them, where we were able to actually interact via a phone call, right? The gentleman that we were talking to, and I'm not going to name him either because I don't have permission to name the individual staff members at AoM. Even though I'd like to, because he was awesome. Right. I believe very strongly, kudos, you're amazing. But I also want to respect privacy and things like that. Right. But when I got to him and started talking about logs, the answer was, yes, we will get you what we can. Because they were very worried about, rightfully so, to some level, with it being a multi-tenant system, was there things in those logs about tenants that weren't us? Right, like,
or are they maybe like? Hopefully, they're since it's so customized. Hopefully, they're logging lots of things that maybe they never thought they needed to log before.
And they actually have way better logs than I expected. And I say that from a perspective of, one, I've worked with lots of multi-tenant systems that they decide that because they're not giving the tenant the logs, they're not important. Right. And I also was surprised because we weren't getting the logs. And so for us not to get the logs, but them to have really good logging surprised me. Yeah. So they very rapidly implemented a plugin to the system to give us visibility into the logs. At the time, we did not have SSH capabilities into the server. They have since moved us to a single tenant system. They've decided that we're dangerous. So there's a combination of, they've decided that, one, we're going to be targeted again. We know that. Two, they want us to work more with them. As a matter of fact, we have a new service I'm not going to discuss right now because I don't think it's fair to take this as an advertising opportunity, but we're rolling it out with them to provide a level of mentorship, apprenticeship, advisory service, whatever you want to call it. We're calling it PASTA because we're weird. But
that's the name of the threat modeling system too.
It absolutely is, and it has nothing to do with the threat modeling. As a matter of fact, the day that we were writing up the SOW wording for it was the day in our CISP mentorship program where we were covering the PASTA threat model. So I thought it was fun, but they have nothing to do with each other.
Okay.
But we're working with them a lot, and so we've got further access. But at the time, they rolled out this audit log plugin that basically took the logs from our part of the system and exposed them to us so that we could see them.
So they were more than willing to let you help out because you're giving them free incident response help, right?
Oh, not only are they getting free incident response help, they're getting a free pen test. They're thrilled because as an organization, Security has said, okay, the average cost of a Security pen test is $25,000, right? Here.
Yeah, right.
We even said to them, you got all these developers, and it's funny, we have these recorded developer classes that are available through our LMS. Sign your people up. Just register them. Yeah. We will give them access, right? And from our perspective, look, I'd love to go to these guys and say, it's $500,000 consulting money. I'm a greedy capitalist, right? Pay me now. Mm-hmm. But the reality is they need help. Yeah. And we are dependent on their skill set. It's kind of like that old adage, right? What happens when the CIO goes to the CEO and says, hey, can I get training for my people? And the CEO says, well, what happens if we train them and they leave? And the CIO says, what happens if we don't train them and they stay?
Right. Right.
So we're trying very hard to help them. They're being, like I said, they're being very open to it. So I was... this entire babble to Amanda's very simple question, or should I say Ms. Berlin, it was that they were way more open to that idea than any other multi-tenant system I've ever dealt with. I was pleasantly surprised. So I would, even after this incident, I would recommend them as a vendor to anybody else looking for an LMS.
Cool. Okay.
Well, an incident will do that.
Oh yeah, well.
Yeah, it'll test that relationship real well.
Yeah,
yep.
It's like when you go to a company, you're doing an assessment, and they have some next gen antivirus or EDR and all that, and that something happened in the past that made them get that. Something triggered that. You don't just go out and get that and pay that much money.
You should, but you're absolutely right. They don't. I love, because one of the first questions we ask when customers come to us and say, hey, I want a pen test, right? Okay, great. Why?
Right.
Why? Not just why did you come to us? We know why you came to us. We're amazing. But
easy there.
Okay, that's not true. I mean, it is true. We are amazing, but we still wonder why the hell do people keep paying us?
I wonder that every day.
It's like, man, this is nuts. I got 20 people responsible for their mortgage payments, but we ask all the time, why are you doing this? And so often the answer is, well, we're not really talking about it, but this happened, right? That irritates me because, don't get me wrong, greedy capitalist, right? I like the idea of people paying us to do work, but I hate people paying us only because they had something bad happen, right? Like, I part of me feels like, well, damn it, why weren't you thinking about that? And I know that's victim blaming and blah blah blah, whatever. But if the first thing you do is say, hey, I need a pen test, you're probably going to fail that pen test, right? It's going to be mean. As a matter of fact, most of the time when people say to us, I need a pen test because I got hacked, our answer is, no, you don't need a pen test. What you need is probably an architecture review, which is what we call it, right? And one, they're cheaper, so you're saving some money. But two, it's more cooperative. You've already had a pen test, you just didn't get the report. Try to work with them more, right?
Yeah. Sorry, just reading through some of the things. So this isn't the first time we've talked about supply chain security and issues. You know, NPM, we had some talks earlier in the year with the NPM folks. One little link in the chain can just screw the whole pooch here. And this Woocommerce it's just another plugin and that is installed with WordPress. It hadn't been updated because it's WordPress, and you've got a ton of stuff that you have to update to get that to work. And this isn't a new finding. I mean, like you said, this came out in like November of last year. So
it was sometime between October and December.
Yeah. Yeah, so according to this, it will create a shop manager role that has edit users, capability or permission, allows users to edit any WordPress user, including the admin account. So,
the thing that we're not 100% sure that it's truly this flaw is because one, this talks about creating a shop manager account. We've looked at the logs. There is no such thing as a shop manager account in what we've got. That role just doesn't exist in the system we're looking at. And in looking at the logs, they went immediately from student, which is why everybody says they were students of yours. No, they had the student role.
Right.
They went immediately from student to administrator. Right there, it was a jump. So I don't know whether it's a customized version of, Like, there's so many questions about this that to be honest, a couple of the people here at Scare Ideas are thinking about calling one of the guys and just saying, "Hey, WTF?"
Yeah.
Right. And talking to them and seeing what did you do? Why did you do it? Why did you think this was okay? Right. What was your goal? Because if your goal was to help people out, we would have thought you would have asked us or talked to us. Or, we don't have a bug bounty program. I have a very strong opinion about bug bounty programs, and I think we've talked about that before. And we don't have one, and so we really don't have permission to test our stuff. And so, what did you do?
Yeah. So I had some questions down here talking about lessons learned. Anything you do differently next time? Anything? One of the things I'd like to find out is what is AoM planning on doing so that something like this won't happen in the future? Are they getting rid of their multi-tenancy, or are you are you a single tenant only because of your risk? Okay, so but I've read stories that there's the death of multi-tenancy because containers and things are so lightweight and cheap and usable that there's no reason to have multi-tenancy so much anymore.
I disagree with you with that statement, that because containers and everything are so lightweight and everything. I that's kind of like saying that, you know, security testing is so easy nowadays that we shouldn't have vulnerabilities. There's an overhead to containers and such. And I believe that multi-tenancy is going to be here to stay for a very long time. It's kind of like saying the mainframe is dead, right?
Right.
I agree with the theory that with things like containers and what have you, multi-tenancy shouldn't be necessary. And I will agree with the statement that that I believe multi-tenancy will become less important. But I would also argue, if you're running containers on a single system, you're still in a multi-tenant system. It's just a different type of tenant, right? And we've seen too many times where you can escape a container and do something elsewhere. So the risk is still there, right? Mm-hmm. So the question is, you know, what are they doing different? What are we doing different? A lot. One, I think we learned a lesson. I hate to say it because I'd like to sit here and claim, well, we're a security company, so we know everything and we're doing the right thing and we have nothing to learn. That's crap. One of the things that we've decided and changed is that when we are working with companies, up until now, we've kind of accepted the idea that just because we're a customer, we're not a special customer. So we haven't really demanded, we haven't really stepped up and said, where's your pen test, right? Whether you did it from us or somebody else, where's the result? We haven't demanded that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. We still very much think of ourselves as the 3-person company that started in 2010, right? We're just a bunch of nerds. And so we don't really demand things like that. That's changing. Our procurement process, I can't believe I've just used the words procurement process and was referring to secure ideas. Palpitations. But we're changing a lot of that kind of stuff. We're going to start basically saying, look, no, screw you, hippie. What are you doing for security? And we're going to, the thing that has kept us from doing that up until now is it's always felt like extortion to me, right? I'm a security company. I want to use your service. Have you had a pen test done? You know, I could do that for you. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just, it seems rude. Screw rude. We're going to demand that.
Miss Berlin gets this all the time, right? Companies wanting to use your guys' stuff. There's questionnaires you have to fill out. There's, questions you have to ask. Miss Berlin can tell you stories.
All the time.
Yeah,
right. And we're actually trying to make sure that those questionnaires we're making people answer now, we're paying attention to. Like I've always laughed. Do you know what the Secure Ideas anti-malware policy is?
No.
Okay, so this is our documented anti-malware policy because we were told by multiple customers that we had to have an anti-malware policy as part of the onboarding as a consultant to them. Our anti-malware policy is do not upload your payloads to VirusTotal.
Short, sweet, to the point.
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
Right.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping it would be this page left blank intentionally.
No, because we thought about that and we decided that wasn't really a policy.
Okay.
Just a blank page. So we wanted to have a policy.
All right.
And I want to be very clear. We have sent that policy to multiple large organizations who have demanded it and never had a single one of them say to us, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they're not actually reading anything.
Hey, we checked the box.
You just want it done.
We checked the box.
See,
exactly.
I've got 5 pages of boilerplate, and it's like, don't upload your stuff and then 2 more pages of boilerplate at the bottom. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, this is literally, it's a page, and it's 1 page. And right in the middle of the page says, do not upload your... So that's one thing on our end. On their end, one, they are taking security very serious. I had to do it.
You almost got through it without laughing.
I almost made it. They are working with us, with their developers. They're running through, doing testing. They're also rolling out better monitoring and alerting on things that are going on. They're evaluating all of their tenants to see, has this happened somewhere else? Is something else going on? They are also working with us. I can't go into details about the types of testing we're doing. I don't think that's fair to them.
Mm-hmm. Hang on a second.
Uh-oh.
I wouldn't talk about a customer's pain.
Kevin,
so,
you cut out for about 10 seconds.
Dang it. So what I was saying was we're in a weird gray area with them, right? We want to respect their privacy as an organization, but at the same time, they're being pretty open about what they're having us do. So we're testing. We have rolled out systems like WordFence. And I don't mean that like WordFence, but not WordFence. We absolutely have installed WordFence on the system for us to have more visibility. They're giving us full access to the server so that we can actually pull data and start monitoring our own stuff. That's something we're rolling out there. And we're working on trying to help them figure out how they can apply patches faster. Right, because this is one of those things, right? And I know you've probably heard me rant about this, right? When we take security, and this is one of the reasons why I don't like hiring security people. I like hiring people who did IT somehow, whether it's development or administration, and then make them security people. Because way too many security people have this idea that, well, yeah, just patch. Right? It doesn't work that way.
Have you ever worked in an enterprise environment? No. Obviously, if you're going to say just patch.
Exactly, right? And even the Windows patches, which most of the time, let's ignore April, most of the time are just next, finished, right? Even those you have to roll through a process. But when you start looking at things that are actual custom code, that takes effort. That takes a process. That takes, that. And I think there are lots of things we could say bad about Equifax. I think they're one of the few companies that I could say I dislike as much as I dislike Comcast. Their CEO, when he testified in front of Congress, which I still don't understand, going in front of Congress because you had a breach. But that's a political statement I can make later. Right. When he said they had one guy who was responsible for patching and that guy's who failed, I really wished somebody had just jumped out with a stun gun and tasered the dude a lot in the nuts. But it's such really a horrible... No. Let's accept the fact he wasn't full of shit and his eyes were brown. If they had one guy who was responsible for patching and dealing with the updated and modified code, that was a screw up. But that's not true. Right. It was just such a bad, and of course Congress, they're full idiots, right? It's the only job I know of that we could have a less than 20% approval rate, yet 90% of them keep their job every election. That blows my mind, and I know why it is, right? It's all the rest of those Congress people are jerks. My guy, he or she, awesome, right? No, they're not. I personally believe that we should never vote for somebody who was in office before, but that's an extreme comment. Yeah. We talk about that kind of stuff as if it was this easy thing. So they're working on that, and I don't think. I hope you understand that every single thing I'm talking about in future tense, and the reason I'm talking about it in future tense is because none of this will ever be completed. Right? We are not going to hit a point where we are actually secure ideas, right? I wish when I had come up with the name, I had come up with securing ideas, right? Because it's an ongoing process. We're going to always be doing it. Right. And
you could just change your logo and put like the little upside down you're correcting the word.
There you go.
In the essay, and then
I like it.
Adding.
I like it. I already own insecurideas.com.
There you go.
So
there. So I have a question in the timeline, because you said the AoM Support suspected there was a 2FA plugin. Were they using 2FA at the time and implementing that, which would have stopped possibly the administrator to be created?
After we published the blog, we realized we never really got into details about that. About 2 weeks before we found the administrator accounts added, we had finally convinced them to add two-factor authentication to the system.
Okay.
So up to that point, if you logged into the WordPress system, and let's be clear right now, as far as I can tell, every two-factor plugin for WordPress sucks donkey balls. I wish I knew people that were actually on the WordPress core team, because they need to implement two-factor at that level. It can't be a problem. But so we had put in a ticket. I laugh and joke all the time that my World of Warcraft account had two-factor before my bank account, because my bank account didn't offer it. Blizzard did.
Mine still doesn't. Navy Federal does not have two-factor auth on their website, and it's
awful.
the largest freaking credit union in the world.
My opinion at that point is you're at the wrong credit union. Seriously. Yeah. And I know a good one, ViStar here in Jacksonville. They are amazing. They pay attention to security, but neither here nor there. We had asked them to put a two-factor plugin in to enable it. We had been working with them for about a month to figure out the best way to do it. They're concerned, and I think it's rightfully so, because we were a multi-tenant system. Any plugin they added
affects
had
everyone
the
else.
chance of impacting other organizations, and that's a legitimate concern, right? So we were working with them. They got the two-factor plugin installed. We enabled two-factor on our accounts, and then about a week later, I think it was, we found these two administrator accounts. So their immediate assumption was it was because of that two-factor plugin, that something in that gave them and I think that was a legitimate thought process, right? The only change we've made is this plugin. Now this is here. And we did not have access, because one of the first questions we asked was, when did they get this access? Like, when was this role granted? They didn't have that data right away. They had to dig for it. Right. And so they were working down the assumption it was the two-factor plugin. Then they figured out, once they got the logs together and were able to say, okay, on this day and on this day, the privileges were escalated. Well, the plugin wasn't there on those days. So it was immediately ruled out. Yes, in the blog, it's not clear, because we kind of, the timeline that you guys see, there is data that's removed from the timeline. During this time, we were giving them details. Oshan is who created the timeline. And I'm going to embarrass him if he listens to this. Oshan is one of our developers. The dude is smart. And if you're looking to hire a developer, he's an idiot. You don't want to hire him. Because I don't want to lose him. The dude is awesome, right? And one of the things that he does, and I don't know how he does it, I have enough trouble remembering to take notes. He can finish a meeting and there's the notes from the meeting, and he just has it, right? And it has great detail and everything else like that. He created the timeline from our details. And one of the things that he had put in the timeline originally was parts of the conversations that were in the tickets, which also included things, because we found some issues when we were looking and mapping the application. We found some issues that we reported to them. Those were in the timeline originally. We didn't think it was right for us to release details of stuff. I will tell you that they have fixed every single thing we found, and every time we show them something, they fix it again.
Nice.
Right there, like I said, they've been awesome. So we removed some lines from the timeline. Originally I thought they were all just things like, hey, we told them about this thing. Hey, we told them about this thing. But I realized after we published it that one of the things we had removed was the initial conversation of, was this the two-factor plugin? And so it reads a little weird.
Right.
Sorry, really long answer for a simple question.
No, it's okay. Some of the other things I was wondering about was, did they have an IR plan? Did they have a way of contacting them? I mean, other than if you were, let's say if the two people who'd gained access actually did the right thing and disclosed to AoM, did they have...
Wait, before you go there, I want to start with, they couldn't have done the right thing because they already did the wrong thing by testing something they didn't have permission for.
That's fair assessment.
Fine, I'm being pedantic. If they had tried to recover from being jackasses and let somebody know,
right.
Yes, AoM has quite a bit of notification capabilities. They do monitor the Security Act standard thing. They do not have a bug bounty program.
Right.
And we can have an argument whether or not that's good or bad. They have multiple means of communication. We've got multiple means of communication with them. They responded very, very well. I can't answer whether or not they had an IR plan before.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as in I can't tell you because I'd have to kill you. I mean it from I don't know. I will lean toward believing that they had one that was inadequate. But I hesitate to say that because they actually got us data way faster than I would have expected on an organization that didn't have an IR plan to get it to us. So the inadequate part in my mind is I don't think, and this is from my interactions with them, I've not seen an IR plan, I've not read an IR plan, right? I think the inadequacy was while they had a plan on how to deal with an incident, they had not really figured out what level of communication they were going to share with their customer. And I get that. I've looked at some of who their other customers are based on portfolios and things like that. People saying they're using it. They are a great system for a less technical audience. So if you are less technical and you want to run an LMS, that's their mark. That's where they're going. We are an odd group for them that we know, at least pretend to know what we're talking about.
That's cool.
And so I think that their IR plan was based on the idea that whoever said to them, hey, I got hacked, wouldn't know what that meant.
Right. And
so they were going to have to do all the heavy lifting. Mm-hmm. I don't think they were prepared to work with a vendor, with a customer that could do some of the heavy lifting. Does that make sense?
Okay. All right. Ms. Berlin, do you have any questions? I'm going to ask Mr. Betcher that too, but yeah, we probably need to.
No, I asked on mine.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, when you said extortion, that kind of triggered this book I read in my mind called Devil Inside the Beltway, where someone working for this organization found some private data on a file sharing site. Or not a file sharing site, but a file sharing program like BearShare or that kind of thing.
Napster.
Yeah.
Napster type
right.
thing. And they contacted the company and said, we found some private data coming from your computer or computer you own. Hire us and we'll help you clean that up.
Yep. It happens quite often.
The question is, when is scanning and telling about these vulnerabilities not extortion? Okay, because I mean, in a way, it might be press for yourself or accomplishments for yourself. If you do this sort of thing, you put it on your resume. I found this many vulnerabilities in this many companies or whatnot, or I saw X, Y, and Z, right? So even if it's not monetary.
So I don't know. I don't know. This is something I've struggled with for years. I've talked to people like Robert Graham and Katie Masouras, people who have very different opinions in dealing with stuff. I think that this is something we as an industry struggle with quite a bit. I don't know the right answer. I do believe very, very strongly that if you don't have permission to do something, you shouldn't be doing it. I understand the mindset and the response to that of I'm doing something for the greater good, right? there's a vulnerability of this type, and I'm going to use mass scan to scan the entire internet to see who's listening on that port. Okay. Did I cross a line? I don't know. I don't know. Heartbleed is, I think, a good example. If you scan to say who's listening on using SSL, that's one thing. If you scan to see who allows you to run the exploit for Heartbleed and you run a command on the server through the vulnerability, in my ethics, you've crossed a line. Please note I did not say in my laws, because this is one of the places.
Good.
Yep. Did it again. 1 hour. Okay.
Way claiming that the CAFAA makes. Am I back?
Yep, you're back.
Yeah, you're back. You said in your ethics, in your law.
In my ethics, not my laws, right? Yeah. And this is one of the places that we get hung up on. When I say you don't have permission to do that, people are like, "Oh, well, you think the law is good?" And I'm like, "No, I believe the CFAA is broken, is fundamentally broken." I personally believe that most of our legal system is fundamentally broken. We try to legislate stuff instead of solving problems, right? And we can touch all the hot button topics, and we can talk about mass shootings and abortion next. But I think that if you are doing something without permission, you are violating my ethics. Your ethics may be different, right? And that's the nice thing about ethics, is we can have a good conversation about where you think the line is and where I think the line is. I do get the idea that most private organizations either don't know or don't want to know what problems they have. And so if we don't point them out to them, they're not going to fix them, right? I get that idea. I really, really do. And I don't know the right answer to it, but I damn straight know that it's not just randomly probing stuff without talking to people, right? I think very strongly that we should be working with people. And I've seen some really good efforts where organizations have been created, groups have gone and talked to the I am the cavalry, and I always mess that one up and say I am the cavalry. Now I don't know which one's right. Right? But while I can disagree with a lot of what they do and disagree with the approach they've taken, at the very least, they went to the people who could work with the stuff and said, hey, here's this. We can point at the other side of that, right? Muddy waters. Hi, let's find a vulnerability, short the stock, and then announce it publicly. Right? I believe that this is, and this is not a popular opinion. I've gotten death threats over this opinion, but I still have it. I personally believe that we need to do some form of licensing. And licensing is probably the wrong word, because licensing is typically government run. I believe that we need to follow the model of the movie industry. And that's another thing you don't hear very often, right? Years and years and years ago, the government started to say, ooh, those movies are becoming obscene. We need to do something about that. And the movie industry got together and said, no, we got this for you. Don't worry. And they created a rating system. And it was a self-designed and self-regulated rating industry. And I know there's problems with it and all, right? Like, I'm not saying this is a perfect example, but they came out and said, this is what's okay and this is what's not, and we're going to handle this. We're going to establish this. Time went by, Gremlins came out, and it was microwaved and it exploded. I know, spoiler alert, I should have said that first.
Oh, man.
I know. I believe that if the movie is 40 years old, I can tell you about it.
That's true.
I know Gremlins wasn't 40 years old. I feel old today.
I would say you were 6.
Yeah, no, I wasn't 6 when Gremlins came out. Because Gremlins isn't 40 years old. I don't know how old it is.
Somebody's Googling now.
Oh my gosh. It came out like a month before I was born.
Oh,
what year were you born?
84.
She's a young punk. She's a real young punk.
So they came out and the government started doing it again, right? Oh, hey man, this is bad. This is, blah, blah, blah. And the movie industry said, you know what? We got this. We don't need your help. And I think that that's a good example from a perspective of what we're talking about. We can't have one government run this, right? I mean, I don't care what your politics are. I don't think anything coming out of DC is necessarily what everybody will agree with. Not saying good or bad, right? I don't think any of us want Iran to run the internet. So I think that we as an industry have to get together. The problem with that is we as an industry can't determine what a pen test is, right? It is 2019 and I still have people who deliver a Nessus report with their logo as a pen test report. We still have people who are going to debate whether it's a red team assessment or a purple team, or, I personally am just going to go completely hands down, we're the orange team. Right? Like, cause we have safety codes. Right. If we as an industry, and the problem is what's going to happen is one of three things. I'm going to Spanish Inquisition this. One, we as an industry are going to come up with something and we're going to build it and we're going to say, this is the standard we're all going to hold each other to. And you don't have to be part of it, right? John Strand and I and some other people have talked about this before, where we can use it as a marketing thing for ourselves, right? You can be a pen tester. We're not going to, what is it called? Where you're gating stuff. You're not a real fan because you don't like Empire Strikes Back. The phrase.
Like a fanboy?
Yeah, no, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, that's a real one.
I can't think of the word. It doesn't matter. It does matter, but
what you're making it sound like is you can be a pen tester and you can pen test all day, or you could be an ISO 9001 kind of industrial standard. We follow ISO 9001. We're ISO certified, pen tester. This is the methodology we use. This is the guidelines we have to follow to be ISO 9001 compliant.
Exactly. And I think that's a good way to put it. Gatekeeping. That's the phrase. Not gatekeeping. Where anybody can do this, but if you want to be better your game, up your game. So that's the first thing that's going to happen. First option, right? The second option is SANS and ISC Squared are going to get together and decide that they can make lots of money training people on this and certifying them, and it's going to be a commercial for-profit effort. And I'm not saying anything wrong about a commercial for-profit effort. I'm a commercial for-profit effort. But if you don't have your CEH, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to be that. We actually talked about, and the problem is I don't have time. And I'm working on it. I'm trying to do things, but So the second option is a company is going to say, I can make lots of money doing this. And then we're going to have $7,200 6-day classes, and it's going to be asinine. Or the third thing, and it's the one that I dread the most, is a government, whatever that is, whichever one that is, right? Maybe Britain will decide they don't have to do Brexit. They'll just form information security laws. Is going to come in and try to mandate this. And what they're going to mandate is something based on 20-year-old technology, right? I mean, it's just how it is. Because what happens with the government, and that's a vague thing there, right, is either the law is so vague as to be useless, or it's so specific as to be useless.
Right.
Right? You're not doing a pen test unless you're using a Dell computer running 9.27 of Kali Ubuntu. And and I know I made those up. Just
Well, that's the reason a lot of people working in defense contractors had to get their CISSP, because to be DoD IAM certified, you had to get either the NSA version or whatever was administrator credential, or get your CISP, which is what I ended up getting because I was a filthy defense contractor. But and I knew that it would kind of work better for me out in the real world too. So I saw more benefit in getting those.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. So we're going to have one of those three things happen, and or more than one of those three things happen. I believe that we as an industry, though, are the best ones to be able to say, this is what is okay and this is what is not. And there's a place in that structure for bug bounties. There's a place in that structure for real security research. And there's a place in that structure for people to be able to grow. One of the things that's close to my heart, and this is one of the reasons I struggle so much with this, is it okay to test stuff, right? I believe so fundamentally in the idea of teaching others and sharing data. And it's one of the main reasons, right, we published this, was we're hoping other people will look at this. Not that we're special, but that they'll look at it and say, damn it, if they can release that level of data, so can we. Right. I just saw on Facebook a couple end of last week, it was a gas station, and I don't remember where it was, and they got hit with skimmers. And the dude that owned the gas station filmed a video of him announcing they were hit with skimmers and started talking about how individuals could protect themselves. This dude basically stood up and said, I am so sorry, but if you paid with a credit card at our gas station, you probably got hacked. I know that's not true, but let's go with it, right? And here's why we screwed up. Here's how we screwed up. And here's how you can hold us accountable in the future. I was so thrilled, and I'm well aware he did not do it because Secure Ideas did an incident report, right? But if we could start seeing that, if Target would come out, and say, this is exactly what happened, instead of what they did where they made people sign NDAs to not talk about it, right? If RSA could come out and say,
you might have seen posts online about credit card skip.
My bad.
No, it's okay.
I found the video.
Who that was?
I found the video of the skimmer thing.
Right?
So
That don't sound that good.
My bad. I apologize.
I think you're holding yourself back. But that's what I think we need to do. And I made this comment earlier. I don't know if it was during the recording or not, but we are standing on the shoulders of giants. We need to be the shoulders for the next group. We've got to do this. And that's why, and I'm not trying to do a sales pitch because I believe that there's lots of people out there doing it. That's why training is so important, right? It's why affordable training is so important. I've had way too many people who have, there was just this article that was going around. This guy wanted to learn how to do hacking, wanted to learn how to do security. He was based in, I want to say Iran. And so he hacked somebody's Instagram account to give the account to his girlfriend, and he was trying to learn. And now all these people are trying to raise money to help this dude out. And part of me says, awesome, we're helping somebody. And part of me says, man, that was the wrong path. The problem is we've promoted that path as the way to do it. We continue to let the people like Kevin Mitnick and Chris Roberts stand on stage and act like the right way to be in this industry is to be able to hack whatever you see, hack all the things, or whatever the hell the saying is today. We encourage that. We have way too many, and I know you all have talked about, we don't get enough blue team stuff out there. We don't talk about the sexiness of defense. You're absolutely right. The fact that more pen testers talk about winning than talk about helping the customer figure out how to fix it, we should be ashamed. Sorry, I'm passionate about this. I'm really passionate about
Really? Are you sure? Like, I know it doesn't come across well on the podcast, so...
I'd love to spend another hour with you, sir, but unfortunately Game of Thrones is coming on, and I do want to see that, but I also want to talk about the events that you might be at for the next 2-3 months, just so people can come and talk to you.
I'm going to be at a number of events. I'm going to be at the IONS Forum in DC. I'm going to be at ShowMeCon. We're actually a sponsor of ShowMeCon. I'm a speaker there. I'm going to be at lots of places.
See you at ShowMeCon.
Awesome. Let's try to grab dinner or something.
Yeah, I'm speaking too. So yay.
Awesome. I'm going to talk about mentoring. That's my entire talk is going to be on building mentoring programs and apprenticeship programs and trying to help people learn. So yes, we have some webcasts coming up. We got some training coming up. We got lots of stuff. I hate to say it like that, but we have lots of stuff. And I will point out the Secure Ideas office in Jacksonville is always available for people to come see. We've got cool Star Wars stuff all around. I mean, we have more mannequins in the office sometimes than staff.
Sounds like a field trip for your kids or Girl Scouts or whatever.
There you go. Come on in. We'll show you.
They have the security badge now. IT security.
Oh, nice.
They do.
I just heard my niece got hers.
Very nice. Okay. So like you said, the training for Secure Ideas, if you're a veteran first responder, is free. You just have to email you guys info at Secure Ideas.
That is, I hate to be pedantic. Almost all of it is free. We have a few courses that they are significantly discounted. Basically, the easiest way to figure out is if I have a cost to offer the course, I have to recoup that cost.
Sure.
And so we've done some. It used to be when the only classes we had online were the 2-hour classes that were $25. Those were all free.
Yeah.
We now have a number of courses that are long form. We actually have a full 3-day course online.
Nice.
That's on application security. Those are discounted. I hate to be pedantic, but I don't want people. What I don't want is somebody to come out there and go, "Oh man, you guys said it was free." No, there are some that are not.
Okay. If you're interested and you're a veteran or a first responder, just reach out to Kevin. If you're not wanting to use email, how would they get a hold of you on Twitter or elsewhere?
You can come out to Twitter. The company's account is now Secure Ideas. That was my account forever. I'm Darth_Kevin. We also have the Professional Evil Slack channel, Slack team or whatever. If you go to professionalevil.com, there's an invite link right there. Yes, I'm sending you to a Professional Evil website and telling you to click a link. I acknowledge that. We idle in that those channels all the time. All of my staff does.
Right on.
So you can talk to all of us. Or you can just email me. I mean, email works. You know what I mean? And if you're worried about us spamming you, I tell you not to worry about it, but I guess that's like saying you're an honest car salesperson.
Right.
Like I'm being honest. That never sounds honest.
I mean, you can just say you're not as bad as Rapid7. And then we'll believe you because you can't be that bad.
They've gotten a lot better though. They really have. I no longer refer to them as Rabid 7. But yes, they are the standard for how to do it wrong.
Right on. Ian's forum in DC, Show Me Con in St. Louis, and the webcasts. You'll be able to hear the dulcet tones of Mr. Johnson speaking there.
Yes.
As always, sir, thank you for coming on. It's been very much appreciated. Would definitely love to have you on to actually talk about web-based stuff in the near future, or one of your minions or whatever.
I have minions. I remember the one place I'm going to be that I think a lot of people are going to be at. I'm actually teaching and speaking at the ISC Security Congress in. So if you want to take a 2-day hands-on class on OWASP, I'm teaching that there.
Okay.
And the reason I'm saying that one is because it's in DC and because it's run by ISC Squared. I know lots of people will be there, so I'll be there. I do have Samurai 10th anniversary coins still with me when I'm going around. You all 3 got them, right?
Nope. I have a 542 coin from when you taught our class at Sands, but
did you guys not get?
There he goes again.
I don't
know.
Nope.
I don't think so.
I don't have
Send me an email with the mailing address for the 3 of you.
Okay.
We have Samurai 10th anniversary coins. The last year was the 10th anniversary of the Samurai project, which I'm excited about. We made coins. We're giving those away.
Okay.
And then we did make Secure Ideas coins that we're only giving to people who, I don't want to say the people who matter, but we're only giving them out to certain people.
Oh, you can say that. I'm all right with that.
You're okay with that?
I haven't gotten one yet, so obviously it don't matter.
Send you one.
Yeah. I don't matter. I haven't gotten one yet, so that's what it is.
Yeah, once you get one, then you matter.
Yes. Matter.
Yes. That's the certification you should have. Like, do you have a coin? Boom. There you go.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay. Ms. Berlin, you were Bsides Nashville doing the mental health workshop. Are you planning on doing that anywhere else in the near future?
Yeah, so we just got the okay to do it at Converge Detroit. So we'll do Converge Detroit next, and then Megan and I are both running one in tandem on June 8th. I'll be at Layer 8 conference in Rhode Island, and she'll be doing Bsides San Antonio. And DerbyCon definitely too.
And you're just speaking at ShowMeCon though, yeah?
And I'm speaking at ShowMeCon.
Okay,
yeah.
You're not doing the workshop though.
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right, very cool. Mr. Betcher, you've got some things going on as well. Why don't you tell us about them?
Do I?
Yeah.
Well, I always have LogMD stuff going on, right?
Okay.
Yeah. It's an agentless program that you run on your Windows system, and it tells you if you're logging correctly in order to find all the hacks that Kevin may or may not run on your system with permission.
Sick burn.
Right. So if you want to go up against Kevin Johnson, you're gonna need this.
See, I only want agent-based systems. I already have 85 of them on my system. I don't, if one more is not going to bother much. So
yeah, there's like 500 agents already, so it's not going to matter.
Okay.
One more. But anyway, check it out at log-md.com.
All right. And you're on Twitter at
Betcher Pwned.
Right on. Ms. Berlin, where are you at on Twitter?
At InfoSystir, INFOSYSTIR.
And Hackers Health as well, right?
And Hackers Health, yeah.
Right on. Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
What's up, sir?
I was this many days old when I realized it's pronounced InfoSystir. That is awesome.
What?
What were you pronouncing it as?
I'm not sure I'm going to say.
Okay.
So I picked it specifically when I got an IRC account because I didn't think people would get it. And
I didn't.
Yeah, and so many people don't until you say it out loud.
Yeah.
Because I was told if you're a girl on IRC, you'd have lots of problems. So I picked it specifically because it had Infosys in it.
Yeah.
Nice.
That is, I apologize. I'm sorry. When you said, I'm like, wait a minute. Sorry.
Nice.
I'm slow.
That's okay. That's all right. So Brakesec is user supported. We take all of our money and it goes to hosting fees. It goes to Zoom. It goes to, handling domain, registration and such. And if you got value from us talking about incident response and with Mr. Kevin Johnson here on the show, please feel free to leave us a little something in the tip jar on our Patreon there. You can find the link in the show notes. We also have a Slack. It's as active as the professional evil one. We have a lot of folks in there. We have moderation. We have a social contract. So we expect you to be on your best behavior when you're in there. But we also have a lot of fun. We have channels for web application pen testing, red teaming, blue team, podcast specific channels. We also have reverse engineering, and we have a sim club, which is running also a book club, which we have two versions of, one running Saturday mornings for our European and Asia Pacific folks. Also one on Wednesday evenings every other week for our US-based listeners. So if you're interested in that, just send us a DM to our podcast Twitter at Brakesec, BRAKESEC, or you can send us an email to bds.podcast@gmail.com. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play Store, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio app, Spotify, pretty much no place you cannot find us. We have an RSS feed, and you go to breakingsecurity.com. That's BRAKEING security.com. So that was it for this week. Thanks again, Mr. Johnson, for coming on the show. Much respect to you and to your company. Even though, we're on the other side of the company and we're technically kind of competitors, but we're geographically separate, so it's all right.
Oh, yeah, that's totally what makes it all right.
Yeah. It's the Mississippi River that keeps us, from being real competitors. So, yeah, but I appreciate you coming on. You're always welcome to come back whenever you'd like. Please feel free to hit us up if you want to come on. So, cool. All right. Well, that was it for Breaking Down Security. Everyone have a great week. Be nice to one another, please. Take care of yourselves because you're the only you have. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.